If the only tool you have is a hammer, it is tempting to treat everything as though it were a nail. Maybe you've heard this quote before. It's called the law of the instrument. And it's a cognitive bias where people tend to rely excessively on one particular method or technique to solve different problems. I've seen it in many instances in my own personal life. Well, my life is personal. Anyway, I've seen it in my life and also in business and relationships with other people, where people want to solve problems just using the technique or the way they feel most comfortable with. Maybe they've found solutions, they've gotten results using a particular technique, and then for every single thing they're doing, they want to incorporate that technique into it. Let me give an example, make it more relatable. Let's take relationships. If you grew up seeing your parents shouting at each other, and that was the only way they could effectively resolve an argument or make a decision or have their points get across to the other person, then you take that as your tool, that every time you want to feel heard in your relationships, whether you're talking to someone who is romantically involved with you, someone who is just a business friend, someone who is a casual acquaintance, for every situation when you feel like you want to be heard, then you resolve in shouting, and you want to shout your way through that situation. Let's take another example, business. If you're very good at making presentations, and then you have to sell to people, it's very tempting that in every situation you want to include a presentation. You want to always present to your client. It's easy to see how counterproductive this can be, because sometimes all you needed to secure that deal was just have a face-to-face with the client or the person you're talking to, have a face-to-face, negotiate the deal and close it. But then you want to make a presentation happen. You want to just overcomplicate the process, which can eventually lead to losing the bid or the sale, And so this law of the instrument says the knowledge we should gain from the law of the instrument is that we need to develop different tools. You need to have more of a toolkit where you have the ability to deal with situations in a specific context, giving it what it needs. So if you needed to have a face-to-face with the client, have the face-to-face with the client and be good at having a face-to-face interaction with the client. If you needed to make a presentation, by all means, make an excellent presentation. If you needed to create a business case and write tons of pages, by all means do that. The point is, become versatile and don't just be a one-way army, if you know what I mean. There's a different angle to look at this, because I shared in one of my previous videos that it's always a good idea, as part of a mental model, to look at things from different points of view. That way you're able to highlight blind spots and be aware of blind spots. So another way to look at this law of the hammer is that when you don't have a hammer, you don't want anything to be a nail. Think about that. Because you don't have the tools to deal with a nail, which will be a hammer in this case. Therefore, you're trying to avoid having a nail problem because you have no hammer, if that makes sense. And for example, how can this apply in our personal lives? Take relationships, for example. If you don't have the skills to navigate conflict, if you don't have the skills to effectively resolve conflict in the way it requires, then you will avoid conflict. Again, it's easy to see how this bias will be counterproductive, because there's almost no relationship that is healthy that doesn't go through a season of conflicts. In fact, multiple conflicts. That's not saying that having many conflicts is healthy, but Just because we are different individuals, we will definitely have different opinions, and that's a conflict. Now, how to navigate that conflict is by doing or saying what is needed to make your partner feel heard and also share how you're feeling and come to a compromise or find a way to resolve it. But if you didn't know how to resolve conflict, if you didn't have that skill, then you will try to avoid conflict and then sweep things under the carpet, and that's just toxic. So that was something that I've been thinking about today, and I decided to make a video out of it. Thank you for watching.